Okay. Paul Slowey, Bo Harbin,
Present.
Chuck Feisley,
Yep.
Paul Dries,
Yes.
Lori Comfort,
Here.
Dan Haynes,
Yes.
Amy Bertine,
Here.
Ann Swisher.
Yes. Motion to approve November's meeting minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Lori. Second. Okay, all those in favor of accepting the minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Chairman's remarks. Let's get right through this meeting. We have our nominating committee tonight, which is Chuck, Lori, Amy, and Paul Slow. If you guys would like to present your slate of officers.
Had a slate. I asked Paul if he would take president. He said he would. And you said you would take vice, and Lori already said you would do secretary. So we're supposed to have two others, I think, but like for temporary people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done it before. I can stay on that because I don't do anything.
Keep it simple.
So that was it. So we don't vote until next month anyhow, right?
Right, not till
Okay,
June.
so it's contemplate, and if you want to make, they make more nominations at that meeting if they want to.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah, if you want to change it.
Yeah, right.
then-
Oh, can we make nominations tonight? Well, for anybody else that might want to nominate somebody, or?
I don't think there's any rules against it or for it, so sure.
Does anybody else have a nomination from the floor? I would like to nominate Chuck Paisley for chair and Paul for vice chair.
Can you decline?
No, I couldn't. So when we go to the actual voting on it, would it be like, all those in favor of one,
Well, we have a slate, right?
another?
Yeah, so we have the slate, which you said was, who'd say was president?
Paul,
So,
and it's.
Why don't you just defer to Chuck and Chuck be the chair?
I don't know if I'm gonna be here all the time, is the only problem.
Well,
So vice
vice just has been pretty darn good. I mean, the occasional time that a vice chair is necessary is far and few between.
So,
Any other nominations? Okay. Director's remark, I guess.
I mean, I'm not the
Acting director.
but I'm not even that.
Well, I could just say we have to review our GML.
Yeah.
Number one and number two, the GML referral.
Yes.
Policies, and the number two is the PUD policy. Does anybody have any things to add to that or exceptions to them?
we have to make like a motion to accept and not change it or something, or?
I'd like to see if anybody wanted to do something first and had any ideas to add to it, and then we'll make the motion to accept it as they are.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Everybody's good with the way they are. A second on that motion to accept.
Who's the second?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I can do this too. I was just correcting the record.
Yeah.
You need to take a vote on that, or?
Oh, I was in favor of accepting the
I'm not sure.
policies.
Why not? As a motion, it's second. Okay. And then also, I put in the agenda, the dates for next year. Yeah, yeah. If there's any problems anyone has, let me know, and change it. Nothing fell on anything weird, so it's every third Wednesday at this moment. Okay, and that was for just the first referral policy or for number one and number two, that motion?
I Yeah, I thought it was on close.
Okay. Okay. If we're ready then, I'll move on to the one overview we have. This is a use variance and site plan review for the purpose of constructing a 30 by 80 pole barn in an R1 district. Property is described as 55 Front Street in the city of Cortland. And it's being referred here because it's within 500 feet of Interstate 81, the Cortland County Highway Garage, and the Cortlandville Town Line. The pole barn is going to be primary use on the parcel, which in an R1 district isn't allowed. So that's why it's a use variance. And because it's building a primary building or structure in the city, anytime you do that, that's a site plan review. So that's why it's both. Section 321 of the code states the intent of the R1 district. And talks about future development and investment should ensure continuation of existing neighborhoods. Traditional development pattern, generally consisting of owner-occupied single-family detached homes, unobstructed front yards, pedestrian scale streetscapes. This area of the city, which I kind of dubbed Upper Front Street, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, I didn't know it had a name over there.
It doesn't,
It
I made one up.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. It was easier than every time writing
Yeah.
out the whole explanation of what it was, so I gave it a name. It's likely not gonna be built in that way. So I suggested that they consider rezoning that area. R1 doesn't really fit there or up on the hill on the other side of 81 either, so I kind of half included that in there. So, and it's not just for the pole barn, obviously, it's just, that's not likely gonna be developed. So I had two options that they could, that I suggested, I guess I should say. Either rezoning it to GD2 or GI, general business local or general industrial. There's currently existing districts neighboring it, so you could expand it, you could make that claim. It would be fastest and there's already a bunch of uses similar to that around there, so. it would work. Second option would be to create a new district, like Parks and Conservation District. That term I took from their current comprehensive plan. And their comp plan talks about conserving things. That could be a good place for that as well as on top of the hill. So threw that in there too as a second option. Order for the use variance to be granted, the applicant has to show that applicable zoning regulations and restrictions cause an unnecessary hardship. So it's recommended that they approve that hardship. Section 300-133B outlines application requirements for site plan reviews. Contains some of the items, but it's still missing a lot. The planning commission can waive those requirements, and considering it's a big pole barn, but it is a pole barn. That they just determine what they need, and if they have enough, waive the rest. The proposed pole barn will be 30 by 80, 2,400 square feet. It meets most of the requirements, the bulk requirements in the district. But it's difficult to determine the setback due to the right of way. The map, but that's gonna take a second, but basically the road density. So the way the definitions are written, you can read it here, I'm not gonna go through it, but it's difficult to 100% understand. I did my best and I think it might comply, but that the ZBA, did I say the ZBA decide? Yes, I said the ZBA make an interpretation. Since it's already going there anyway, might as well. Section 383E outlines minimum off-street parking requirements. This pole barn would have to provide 3 off-street parking spaces. That's something they're gonna have to figure out if they need from their site plan or not. This is a type 2 action under seeker, so staff recommends approval of this application to construct a 30 by 8 pole barn in R1 district. Only if the following contingencies are satisfied: that the city consider rezoning the area surrounding the proposed pole barn, the upper Front Street area, to better reflect the area's geographical realities, that the applicant show the city that applicable zoning regulations and restrictions have caused unnecessary hardship, that planning commission waive any required materials outlined in section 300-133P of the code that they determine to be unnecessary for a complete assessment of this project, that the zoning board of appeals make an interpretation to determine if the proposed pole barn complies with the setback requirements outlined in section 300-23, that the ZBA determined the proposed pole barn does not comply with section 300-23, or that should they determine that, the applicant obtain an area variance. That the applicant update site plan to show a minimum of 3 on-street parking spaces and no seeker required, so.
Motion to accept staff recommendations. Second. Can you give a second, please? Dan? Discussion?
What are they gonna use this?
I don't know.
So it's an R1 district and they want to put a barn for something.
He had
Yeah.
a property,
He
he
didn't
didn't
really
say, Stacy, their own property down there
Yeah.
across from.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they own a
Way
lot.
up or around. yeah.
Also on the other side of 81. They own-
Right, yeah, a whole bunch of stuff.
So it's personal storage or is it?
Yeah, what is it, he didn't say where for.
He didn't say.
We
just
went
said
through
it was
this
gonna
once
be
before
storage.
the property. I don't know which one it was, it was a really difficult building.
Yeah,
It was up on, was it up on Locust?
yeah, something was, well, not the city, I think, maybe it's. We did, they have the same restriction, yeah. He was granted or not, they did, that you.
Yeah.
Find the zoning change probably better, but I have different, I guess I'm okay with your recommendations. It probably should be a different zone there to really, it shouldn't be residential in that area, because, what's right across the street from your picture? What is that?
That's where they're cleaning up.
That's-
Is that the cleanup?
Yeah.
Yeah, cleanup. I thought, what the
I
heck?
mean, the linear looks beautiful all along there until you get to the county highway.
So that's the cleanup that I said.
It's the county highway.
Yeah, kind of.
That was all.
No, that's the nice thing. County highway is right there.
That's where the guys are doing the remediation.
Yeah.
now.
Mm-hmm.
So nice and clean up.
Yeah, the only reason we have this photo is because this is the first time anyone's seeing the new aerial photos we just got from.
Yeah, 'cause I haven't seen that. I said, what the heck is that?
That's
I
actually
think-
somewhat dated too,
Very
because
well.
they're way beyond that.
So I mean, it really doesn't want to be residential, so now got across the street from it.
It's not.
There's nothing else there, but-
Yeah.
And does
I think
the
it's-
street need?
But the only problem would be, I guess you'd have a long stretch of residential. coming through.
Yeah.
They do. On one side of front, there's a bunch
Which
of.
makes that industrial, it could be pretty busy traffic on there.
Yes, that whole
Right.
tract, I think.
So that's something they have to consider. That's why I put in the conservation maybe. If they wanted to, it was in the comp, like something they wanted to do somewhere. So suggestions, options. Just start the conversation.
If they change the zoning to, their second option, Parks and Conservation District, if they, let's say they change that, how would that affect this fellow trying to build a pole barn?
Well, if he gets a use variance, it wouldn't. But if he doesn't, then he's in the same boat and he would still have to get a use variance, assuming that's how they would.
So for his sake, we need to get this thing rolling now, because how long would it take him to change zoning? It's relatively government forever.
Well,
He's on that land for 50 years. Right. At least.
Yeah, he hasn't done anything forever. Yeah.
Pay taxes.
I don't have a problem.
They'd have to do a lot of talking amongst themselves and figuring out what's justified in the comp plan. And I think I heard that they're looking to update their comp plan. I might be thinking somewhere else, but it might be a while out.
A weird shaped piece of property. isn't it?
Would he be responsible for extending the road to there or
Little road already is right there.
It's already there, the right of way.
where the pole barn is now?
Oh,
Um, yeah, he's gonna put it here and he's probably gonna build quote unquote road there. I mean, it's not a build thing. It's
It'd
just
be off from the front road, across
Put it
State
there
Road, all the
and
way
came
up.
back.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
he's gonna continue on.
He owns that
So
whole
it'd be
area.
considered a driveway, not
Yeah,
an
he owns
extension
all-
of that
He owns the
road
whole
through the city or
Yes,
anything to be.
it'd be a driveway.
And across the street is industrial, you said?
So there's the,
What is he?
so that property where the good nice is doing work, is that zone industrial right now? Or was that residential?
That's quite a ways
I
further
think
down.
it's residential. I'm not sure.
Casey's Field, that's all further.
That's quite a ways down.
Yeah, it's the other side, it's the other side
It's other side of the river.
of the county boundary,
That's
right,
right.
the south side.
Yeah,
Right
it's
there.
all part of the property. It's where that is. It's the lower part of the property.
Mhm.
That's what I thought.
He's got quite a ways up to there, he's got
alright, so here's the parcel right here.
way down.
Yeah.
So I was talking about, there's this right here, which does technically touch this area. This is zone general industrial, right here, Grant Street, off right here. And then also across the river here. This is the county highway garage.
Here.
What's just south of that?
That's land owned by the county. But no one, we're not doing anything with it right now.
Well, that's the old greenhouse right there, it's all, that's all old
Yeah.
greenhouse.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the green.
And then Euclid, there's
Yeah.
dead ends there, so yeah, that's.
Number
that's
three.
the side. There's never been much of anything there. As I've been.
Not a lot of room between the interstate, the
And the river.
railroad and the river.
Not a lot.
His bridge was the only viable way to cross.
Yeah, and that's only down here.
My, if you could go back to the site map
Mhm.
that you had. My only question is, if he's gonna put a pole barn up there in, above where the red thing sticks out, that area where weird thing is, how is he going to access the property when the road ends down where the thing comes across? He doesn't own that piece of property. He can't put a road in there.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
That's not his property. So if he puts a pole barn up there, he's crossing either the city's property or somebody else's property line.
Mhm.
He doesn't own to access that,
So I said a long driveway, but it's not his property.
not his property.
It is still a public right of way, so if he can drive through it, he's
Oh, it's.
legally
right
allowed to.
It's a right of way is what you're saying, okay.
Yeah,
He is.
So we'd be allowed to use it, I guess.
he just wouldn't be allowed to maintain it.
Well, you probably have to get permission from the city to
Yeah.
do something with it, right? Just public right of way.
Yeah, in order to do
Or
anything.
something.
Maybe
I
we
mean,
should
imagine
add,
built to road specs or something, I don't know. Well, the city's gonna require for it.
should we add
But I mean,
something?
if the road ends where they cut across to put in the cleanup, I mean, that's where Front Street ends.
Right.
Even if there's a right of way, I mean, he can't just, like, if trees have grown up, he can't just clear it for his own use.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Not
absolutely right.
his.
So should
He
we
doesn't have.
add something to the
It doesn't have,
recommendations?
yeah, it doesn't have legal access directly to that. The road doesn't access that part of the property.
No.
Do we want to add a condition that the city DPW review access to the proposed
Or
pole barn?
approve anything that goes in there.
Right.
Or,
Yeah.
Yeah, allow or
Approve
something.
access. Yeah.
A motion?
Because he can't take the city, I mean, that's the
Right.
city's, he can't
You can't take the property,
take
right?
the
Yeah.
property.
Yeah. But they might approve along.
Right, they might approve a dirt road or
Something.
something, but yeah, I mean, you can't just assume that that's the case.
Is that a motion?
So you're looking
Yes.
at, so your recommendation was for rezoning, right?
That's the
yeah.
original. Now we're doing a motion to add to those.
Right,
recommendations.
but your recommendation wasn't for use variance, just for rezoning.
I said,
Yeah.
yeah, I said both, actually. I said recommendation for rezoning. If one of them happens, he wouldn't need one, but it would take a while. And if he is gonna get a use variance, that he proves the hardship, which may or may not be able to do.
Either way,
Or may not.
he'd need a use variance.
He would need to prove that hardship, which would be very difficult for him.
Yeah, 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 I
Yeah.
agree.
So we need, we have a motion to amend the recommendations. Can I get a second on that motion?
I was gonna say, I thought I did, but that's all right. Oh,
Oh, no.
no, that's all right,
You
that's
have-
all right.
Any other?
That they get approval from city DPW
Yeah.
for access. For site access.
Any other concerns? All those in favor of accepting the amended recommendation?
Aye.
All those in favor of accepting the staff recommendations, including the amendment?
Aye.
Anybody else? You think it would be,
So. Okay. In that case, there were a bunch of returns this time. I do want to point out to this one, Manning. I spoke to, I don't know a lot about guns, put it that way. So I didn't really know what a federal firearms license was, until it was a little more explained to me. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is gonna return in January. I spoke to their code enforcement officer and it's being delayed anyway they're trying to figure out if they even need this, or they're pretty sure they are, but he's kind of fighting. So, yeah, this will come in January
an occasional
It's not a
transfer.
anymore.
There's very seldom times a gun is transferred without an exchange of finances involved.
Right.
in it. So it's a sale.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, there's.
Which was the
one.
concern, that's the town's concern,
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I think it would be illegal to transfer it without showing ownership change and licensing and requirements and everything else.
Right.
Well, you have to
You just
do
can't,
that.
you can't have casual
Not
staff.
if you're doing an occasional transfer,
Do what?
like.
You can't have casual, you can't buy a gun off me, you've got to go through
Right.
a store.
Doesn't matter how it's
something.
occasionally, no. There's a process.
Really valuable. Casual per se.
Yeah, and it's gonna be-
Gone through it.
Yeah.
And there is no, actually, there is no money exchange.
No, you don't need a money.
No, there is no.
Because I'm licensed.
For just licensing, right. But to transfer the firearm,
Define transferring firearm.
giving a firearm that's valued at so much to somebody else.
There's a process that you have to go through. Like say he passes away and his family wants to give me the gun. There's a process that you have to go through, but it has to go through an arms dealer
Yes.
for me to finally
From
possess.
one licensee to another.
No. Not one licensing to the other. Not in that instance, obviously, if it's local, but it has to go through the sheriff's department. And then I can receive the firearm from the firearms dealer. There's no,
Even if you didn't have a license,
oh, no, I have a permit,
Right.
but yeah, if you don't have a permit, you're not gonna get it.
he has to have a license or.
Correct. You have a
To
firearm
give to
license.
somebody
That's
else.
correct.
That's what he's doing.
Correct.
Need your license to ask them
Well,
bring it on the
nobody
case.
oversees it.
Correct. Yeah.
There's nobody that would oversee it, just a transfer of firearm.
Just gotta have,
Yeah,
you can't do it.
He said something like,
A
It's
dealer.
not a pawn shop.
fine.
Gotta go to Tennessee.
Mhm.
I didn't do
Apparently he got.
Yeah,
We do.
Licenses.
I guess
I
he
can
was-
make an order. Can't buy it here. Right.
So what do you?
But otherwise,
Come back.
any questions on other ones? Here.
Returns.
Yeah. A lot of little ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust any
Yeah.
kids, guys.
Kids redesign my stuff.
Yeah.
It sounds like a better flow of traffic.
Yes, yeah, you should have been to the planning board, they didn't, it took forever for them to figure that out.
They're lined up already up there waiting to pull in.
Mhm.
Yeah. Bring it in. I didn't know it was just-
Okay, announcements? For announcements, I'd just like to, thank you all for contributing for all this last year as me as chairman, and I've It's been a privilege to hold that position. And
Good
I
job.
look forward to the new year with the new chairman. Thank you. Well, with that- And our next meeting will be January 18th, and we will do the slate of officers then. Anybody else have any announcements?
You know of anybody, we're down 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're down a few members.
Do I just need you, Bob?
If you send it to Alex, I'll make sure that it gets to the appropriate.
He had previously applied and I thought it was working its way through.
I sent you that.
Wes,
I think you did.
Wes Gardner.
Oh,
Oh.
Maybe you did.
Interesting.
Well, Alex will make sure it gets to the chair.
Okay.
And
Remember,
whoever
I'm
else.
virtual here.
Well, if nobody else wants to step up.
Yeah, few people, and they were already on a couple other boards and didn't feel like this was.
Okay.
I'll be gone till.
I've got some.
you must have that.
I might be back in the 19th.
Oh, so you're gonna be gone through the.
Alex, did you bring a report card for us to look at?
Oh, for school?
So
I mean, and you can look at it, I got it on my phone.
Can we consider Paul's attendance on WebEx as an attendance since he's participating that way? Not even that he can't vote, but would it be
He can't be counted on the minutes as
attendance?
No.
No. Okay.
You can.
well, where does that leave us with form then in those couple of months? Are we, everybody else has to be here? Because
We have
we'll be
one
down
person.
four?
We can have one person not here.
Okay.
As long as everybody
Oh,
votes.
if you want to fly me back for meeting.
Yeah.
I would.
You-
State law, we can't
Yeah.
change it again.
That's state.
We put it,
More important.
it makes it difficult.
Yeah.
So we were kind of
We need to get on that.
research and look for people to participate as soon as possible, probably.
Yeah, quorum was a topic on the training today.
Yeah.
Good to have that in mind. But we get sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't get sick.
We get sick for the winter.
You send out a training.
Oh, yeah, I was just passed through it. Who did I get that?
I did that.
Southern Tier 8,
Oh, did it too?
or did
Yeah.
you send that to me? Trainings.
You sent
You
it.
sent it.
You sent it to all the municipal.
That's right, Southern Tier 8 sent it to me. You've
Yeah.
been sending me stuff too, so that's why I'm confused.
Yeah.
You sent it to the Virgil.
Is that one of the trainings that you were talking about?
Yeah.
I sent it to all of you.
Amy and I were.
Yeah. And next week, the secret, it's basics, and then we want the more advanced stuff. I'll do.
To get the hours that we need to have, the
Yeah.
state has online training.
Where are you taking it? Is it online?
Yeah,
It is
it's
online.
online. It's an hour.
I was thinking about finding out next week is secret.
Secret basics and I.
No.
You can ask.
Unfortunately, the individual that we had interviewed and offered to
Yeah.
withdrew their consideration.
So you're back to square
We're
one,
back to square
or
one.
was there a second horse?
We're back to square one.
I see it pretty good. It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Will there
That'd
be
be-
additional training
We'll keep
in
working on it,
house
though.
or through the county that
I
would
think
be in
that's-
person?
I think that's the plan.
Okay.
March, end of March, for additional trainings.
Are we supposed to have 4 hours per year for training to?
I went to one, in Canandaigua, I attended one. Because it was on, one of the main issues they said was, long-term rentals or short-term rentals, and we're having that issue over here. So I went to that training, I think that was a 3 hour. It was interesting, but that's coming up, guys, you know, the rentals in all our areas. And, we try to ban them, but they're happening anyway, so I think we should regulate them. A lot of them regulate them. But anyway, but I did go to that one, that was really interesting. And they used one of our fellow. He was one of our fellow people who took the board to court and she won. And I didn't know that till I did.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Did the insight, so.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well,
Anyone else?
Anything else?
yeah. Motion to adjourn.
Move it.
We can start our Christmas party then.
We're partying.
I know.